How do you know that you are satisfied? How do you get fulfillment? Is it simply eating more fat? Is it consuming more nutritious foods? Is it ensuring that your digestion is running properly and that you have adequate bile to extract these fat-soluble nutrients? And this is based on a recent book that contains some exciting information. However, this book focuses on a single notion known as the protein leverage hypothesis. They simply investigated insects and discovered that certain insects will consume till their protein requirements are met. And putting these insects on a reduced protein diet causes them to binge. Okay. To meet that protein requirement. And this is quite fascinating because one of the tips I advise folks is to eat your salad first before eating your meal. Because if you eat your protein first, your chances of finishing that salad are substantially lower. As a result, protein tends to satisfy you. And it's not even the protein. It's the protein's amino acids. So let's take a closer look at protein and what it accomplishes for your body. For starters, it replenishes your muscles, ligaments, tendons, collagen, skin, and bone. Not only that, but all of your enzymes, not only for digestion, but for all of your biochemistry, are generated using proteins. Proteins are the building blocks of your cells. Your blood is made of protein. Protein makes up the majority of your hormones. So protein is really important as a survival mechanism, especially since you don't store your protein. So, if you don't eat protein, where does it come from? It originates from your muscles, although not at first. Where does a lot of your protein come from when you fast for an extended period of time? It is caused by a defective protein. And your body has this wonderful ability to recycle damaged protein. And this condition, or mechanism, is known as autophagy. Because protein is so crucial, it will take that broken protein and turn it into amino acids to produce new proteins when you fast for an extended period of time. As a result, this is extremely therapeutic. As a side note, if you fast for an extended period of time and don't feel well, it could be because you're lacking in specific nutrients such as B, vitamins, electrolytes, and sodium. However, it is possible that you will require amino acids. So I don't encourage eating protein, but if you don't feel well after fasting for an extended period of time, I recommend taking it as a supplement once or twice a day. And an excellent amino acid complex. If you have the correct number of amino acids, it will not convert to sugar. This is one of the drawbacks of eating too much protein. The surplus is not saved. It's turned into sugar. So, if you eat precisely the proper quantity of protein for your body, it will replace the body tissue and provide what it requires without converting it to sugar or fat. In terms of human requirements, if we're talking pounds, you'd multiply a 0.6, 4 times how much you weigh. That is the amount of protein you should consume each day. If we're talking about kilograms, multiply your weight by 1.6 to get the number of grams of protein you require every day. That is only an average, and it could be a little bit higher. If you're younger and an athlete, it could be a little less. What's so interesting about this whole matter is that I recently purchased 2 horses, because I live on a farm. And, figuring out what to feed a horse because, when it comes to buying horses, everyone says you have to be careful not to overfeed them because they get things like hay belly, where their belly grows distended because they're eating too much grain. They may get a disorder known as laminitis, which is an inflammation of their foot, similar to having inflamed tissue beneath your fingernail that is related to your finger in people. Imagine having that inflamed and attempting to walk on it. As a result, a severe form of this is known as foundering. We had an irritated foot, and then this horse couldn't walk. Then you have what's known as the lame horse, which is a terrible condition. So I wanted to know a little bit more about what's really going on. So I discovered a benefit of finding a vet who does not encourage giving grain to your horses. And apparently, and this all makes sense to me because I work in the health field, the arthritis that the horses get, the ulcers that they get, are all caused by either too many grains or when a horse is put on new spring grass, which is very, very high in fructose, which can cause inflammation and cause all of these problems. It happens all the time in humans. We're on a fructose diet, and we're getting far too much of it. Horses, on the other hand, are the same thing. The horse is not normally confined to a barn or a pasture in the wild. They have the ability to roam, migrate, and eat foods other than grass. And, of course, lots of exercise to burn it off. As with humans, horses will eat until their protein requirements are met. Right. Unfortunately, the grass this spring is strong in sugars and low in protein. As a result, they will simply keep eating and eating until they have consumed enough protein. Well, this offered me some really fantastic advice about feeding legumes to the horses. Right. Alfalfa is one, whereas soy is the other. Soya is a legume with roughly twice the protein content of grass. And, of course, I am strongly opposed to human consumption of soy. But it appears that we have soybean meal, from which they extract the oils that oxidize, and from which you get that high omega-6 fatty acid, which is inflammatory. And you're left with this amino acid product. And, of course, I would suggest getting the organic blend. But the point is, if you feed horses beans, they'll get the protein they need while without overeating. And he's allegedly been doing this for many years, working with numerous people and having a lot of wonderful success with these horse difficulties. So what is happening to humans is also occurring to animals. For some reason, we have this notion that we must feed horses grains, that it must be done in a barn, and that they must do this and that. But all you want to do is stare at nature. What do they naturally do in nature? What, after all, does someone do when they go on a diet? They look up how to go on a diet. They go to Google, and they'll say, well, make sure you drink more water, eat more fiber to fill you up, and have a lot of small snacks throughout the day to prevent overeating. Would I recall when I used to have a carb breakfast? Man, I'd be hungry in an hour and a half. In the evening, I'd be famished. Right. Then I moved to a protein breakfast, which I no longer do because I fast until lunch. But the point is that whether I had eggs, meat, hamburger, or steak for breakfast, it actually satisfied my need. I was pleased. I was in the finest of moods. And that was simply because I was meeting my protein requirements without exceeding them. Check out more videos from Fitness Spinner.